Hi, my name is EJ Massa. If you're subscribed to this channel, there's a high likelihood that you love cheese sauce. Hey, me too! When I was a kid, I was on a park and rec swim team, and during swim meets, there'd be a snack table. And at that snack table, they would serve you nachos in a styrofoam bowl, and they would pour that cheddar cheese sauce all over them. I loved it. And that's probably why I wasn't a very good swimmer. Sank to the bottom, filled with cheddar cheese sauce. Now, I love nachos with melted cheese over them like you get at restaurants, but I still have a soft spot for that liquid chemical cheese. So I'm wondering if I can rediscover my childhood by finding a similar nacho cheese sauce. I have to rediscover my childhood because every day as an adult is a nightmare. All I remember about this cheese sauce from a kid is that it came in a giant can and they served it out of a cheese cauldron like this. So I went to Walmart and found these canned cheese products. They aren't the exact brands I remember from my childhood, but I figured I'd try them to see if they were close to what I remember. We have Rico's Premium Cheddar, which is aged cheddar cheese sauce, and Gourmet Nacho Cheddar Cheese Sauce. From what I remember from my childhood swim meets, this cheese sauce wasn't very spicy, it was just cheesy. Now, when I went to this roller skating rink that we have locally called Interskate 91, they had a more jalapeno flavor, spicier cheese sauce, which I also like, but we'll see how good these ones are. First, the aged cheddar sauce. It is very liquidy and cheesy looking, a very bright orange color. The nacho cheese sauce is much thicker, and I had to coax it out of the can, and it has a much duller yellow color. The instructions on the can said to heat on medium for 10 to 15 minutes, so that's what I'll do. Side by side, you can see the color difference. The regular cheddar sauce is much more bright orange than the nacho cheese sauce on the left. I'll be using these late July chips for taste testing. A good all-around chip, nothing fancy. Although this video is coming out mid-July and not late July, so I'm not sure if I'm even legally allowed to eat these, but I've always been a little bit of a rebel. First, I'll taste the cheddar one. Oh yes, this tastes familiar. It has an oily, mild cheese taste. Very thin flavor. Definitely tastes more like the nachos that were served at my swim meets. In fact, if I close my eyes and picture myself biting into a soggy cheese log tortilla chip, yeah, it's very similar to this. And now the nacho one. It has that jalapeno bite that you'd expect from like movie theater nachos or the Interstate 91 nachos I mentioned earlier. Definitely thicker and has a flavor more similar to the salsa con queso from Tostitos. Definitely more sour than the regular cheese sauce, and they both have that plasticky, artificial aftertaste and leave a pit in your stomach. Which is something I remember from my childhood swimming days, which again contributed to my really poor swimming performance. So let's see if we can do better. I'm gonna try to make a cheese sauce a couple different ways. First, I'm gonna try J. Kenji López-Alt recipe for nacho cheese sauce that utilizes evaporated milk. Evaporated milk already has emulsifiers in it. And emulsifiers help blend the cheese so it doesn't separate, and this is important when trying to make a very smooth cheddar cheese sauce. The reason I picked this recipe is because it uses ingredients that you can easily get from the store. For the second recipe, I'm going to try this Chef Steps recipe, which uses harder to find chemicals, which you'll probably have to order online. These are sodium citrate and sodium hexametaphosphate, which are emulsifiers. In fact, sodium hexametaphosphate is used in the cheese sauce I just tested. This Chef Steps recipe, for some reason, uses their sous vide machine, which they're always trying to force into every recipe. Look, the Joule is a great machine. Jun has one, he loves it, but you don't need sous vide for this recipe. This is just Chef Steps trying to show their product, which is totally their right, but you can just use a saucepan for this. Anyways, I'll be using this fine Cabot extra sharp cheddar. I'm hoping that using a high quality cheese like Cabot will make for a superior sauce. A lot of you probably use a box grater like this to grate your cheese, but have you ever considered using editing jokes? Just drum on the cutting board like this, da-da-da-da-da, bam! All shredded. Editing jokes save you time and money when cooking. For the López-Alt recipe, I put 8 ounces of shredded cheese in a bowl, along with 1 tablespoon of cornstarch. Tossing to coat, transferred the cheese to a saucepan, added a cup of evaporated milk, and cooked on medium-low, whisking constantly, until I had something kind of thin and cheese sauce-like. I decided to give it a taste test, and it honestly tasted a bit like a mac and cheese sauce you'd make with a roux, which is fine for mac and cheese. It has a strong cheddar flavor, and maybe a tiny bit gritty. So I put it back in the saucepan and added a little bit more evaporated milk, and to help it not taste like a baked mac and cheese, added 2 teaspoons of Frank's Red Hot sauce, which López-Alt's recipe recommends for some heat. And I think that'll do for this recipe, so how about I pour it in slow motion? Been a quick minute since I've done some slow motion food porn. Yeah. There, much better. The hot sauce evens out the flavor a bit, made it a bit more complex, and it is much smoother. However, after a few minutes of sitting around, it really solidified in an unpleasant way, and the grittiness came back. So let's see how these emulsifiers work in the Chef Steps recipe. So in another saucepan, I poured 8 ounces of milk, 9 grams of sodium citrate, 1 gram of sodium hexametaphosphate, 3 grams of salt, and 8 ounces of shredded cheddar cheese. And again, heat on medium-low, whisking constantly, until it looked very sauce-like. I'm gonna sneak in a taste before I pour it, and oh wow. It's slightly more sour, but in a good way. Less mac and cheesy. A deep, complex flavor. It reminds me of the cheese sauce in the can, but it's enhanced with the good quality cheese. And it flows beautifully and majestically into a bowl. Yes, this is the cheese sauce I've been looking for. It's got a very bright taste and doesn't leave me with that pit in my stomach. It also doesn't get too thick and gritty when left out for too long. I wanted to try it with some heat, so I put 40 grams of pickled jalapenos in there, specifically this brand of pickled jalapenos, and I used an immersion blender to incorporate them. And I have to say, this is probably the most perfect version of nacho cheese I've ever had. The jalapenos add a great kick, nice and spicy with a crisp taste. This is exactly the kind of cheese sauce I remember from my childhood, but amazingly upgraded. I totally recommend making this cheese sauce. So thank you, Chef Steps. You've earned your right to shill your product. I personally will be making this recipe again, maybe for parties, or maybe just for myself, while I eat it, alone, in the bathtub, weeping. You can look forward to Jun using sodium citrate in an upcoming episode of Box Mac, and also a fan sent me an attachment that turns your grill into a pizza oven. So that should be a fun video. Follow me on Instagram and on Twitter, and comment below. Like and comment. These are things YouTubers say at the end of videos. Until next time, bye!